You could sleep for 12 hours straight and still wake up completely drained. Because you aren't physically tired, you're fundamentally exhausted by the mere act of existing. There is a deeply misunderstood psychological state where you don't actually want to die, but the thought of waking up, making another decision, and just being feels impossibly heavy. You just want to hit a pause button on your consciousness and fade away for a while. Psychologists call this existential exhaustion, and it is dangerously misdiagnosed as standard depression or everyday burnout. If you've been experiencing this profound, unshakable soul-tiredness, a very specific mechanism in your brain has quietly shut down. And the actual root cause of why you feel so empty right now is completely different from what you've been told. Imagine waking up on a random Tuesday. Your alarm goes off, and instead of dreading the day, you feel a profound, crushing indifference. You go through the motions, showering, making coffee, answering emails, smiling at people, but you're operating entirely on autopilot. You're a ghost haunting your own life. Society looks at this and slaps a convenient label on it: depression. So you do what you're supposed to do. You take a mental health day. You try meditating. You sleep for the entire weekend. You might even try therapy or medication. But Monday rolls around, and that suffocating weight is still sitting squarely on your chest. Why? Because standard depression is often characterized by overwhelming sadness, intense despair, or a crushing sense of worthlessness. But existential exhaustion is distinctly different. It is not the presence of pain. It is the terrifying, hollow absence of desire. It crosses into what clinical psychologists refer to as passive suicidal ideation. You have absolutely no intention of harming yourself. You just sincerely wish you could be unwritten from the script of life. The constant, relentless demand to make choices, to maintain relationships, to pay bills, and to just keep the biological machine running feels like carrying a boulder up a hill that has no peak. You've been told that you are just burned out, that you need a vacation, a digital detox, or a better work-life balance. But here is the unsettling truth that traditional self-care culture completely ignores. Your brain isn't broken, and it isn't just running low on serotonin. In fact, your mind hasn't failed you at all. It has intentionally initiated a highly evolved biological shutdown sequence. To understand this, we have to look at the brain's deep survival architecture. When you face a sudden, immediate threat, like a car swerving into your lane, your amygdala floods your system with adrenaline. You fight or you flee. But what happens when the threat isn't a car? What if the threat is the relentless, grinding, inescapable monotony of modern survival? Your brain eventually realizes you can't fight an exhausting culture, and you can't outrun your daily obligations. So, it triggers the third deeply hidden survival mechanism. It plays dead. In neurobiology, this is called a dorsal vagal shutdown. It's an ancient nervous system response built for inescapable trauma. When a prey animal is pinned by a predator with no way out, its body goes entirely limp. It numbs the physical pain, it slows the heart rate, it detaches consciousness from reality to make the end bearable. You aren't actively being hunted by a physical predator. But your primitive nervous system cannot tell the difference between being eaten alive and the crushing, chronic pressure of a life that demands everything while giving almost nothing back. So, your brain drops you into a state of profound emotional hibernation. But here is the terrifying catch. While this emotional hibernation saves your energy, it severs the power lines to your brain's reward center. Dopamine production crashes. This triggers a state known clinically as Anhedonia. It's the total, suffocating inability to experience pleasure. That's why the exact things that used to spark joy, your hobbies, your friends, your favorite music, now just feel like mandatory chores. Your brain has quite literally shut off the lights to save the battery. But why does this specific biological shutdown make you want to vanish entirely? It comes down to a core psychological truth observed by psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. Humans are built to endure immense, brutal suffering, but only if that suffering has meaning. Today's world demands maximum psychological output but offers almost zero existential reward. You are spending massive amounts of mental energy just to maintain a baseline of survival. You're running a marathon on a treadmill. You aren't broken for wanting to step off. Your brain is accurately assessing a completely unsustainable environment. But recognizing this shutdown is only the first step. Because if you try to fix existential exhaustion using the standard playbook for depression, you won't just fail, you will actually push your nervous system much deeper into the void. When you try to force your way out of existential exhaustion using the standard depression playbook, like aggressively setting new goals, forcing yourself into high-energy social situations, or demanding that you just snap out of it, your primitive brain perceives this sudden pressure as yet another threat. It thinks the predator is attacking again, so it doubles down on the paralysis. It shuts your system down even harder, draining whatever tiny reserves of energy you had left. To pull yourself out of a dorsal vagal shutdown, you cannot use willpower. You have to speak the only language your deepest nervous system understands: safety. Right now, your brain is convinced that existing is dangerous because the environment demands more energy than you possess. You don't need to find your grand life purpose today. You don't need to suddenly fall back in love with life. The path out of this dark, hollow space isn't about finding massive, overwhelming joy. It is about creating micro-moments of low-stakes safety. This means radically stripping away the performance of living. It means giving yourself permission to just exist without having to optimize it. Drink a glass of water without analyzing your daily hydration goals. Sit outside for 5 minutes without trying to meditate or be productive about it. Move your body gently, not to burn calories, but to remind your brain that you're no longer playing dead. You have to slowly prove to your nervous system that the threat has passed, turning the power back on, one tiny quiet circuit at a time. That heavy, suffocating desire to simply fade away is not a sign that your mind is permanently broken. It is a profound biological signal that you've been carrying an unsustainable weight for far too long. You're not defective, and you're not weak for wanting to put it down. Your body protected you the only way it knew how. But the hibernation can end. You don't have to carry the entire mountain tomorrow. You just have to give yourself the radical grace to stand at the bottom, take a breath, and realize that you do not have to exhaust yourself just to earn your right to exist. If you are finally ready to stop fighting your own biology and want to know exactly how to create these micro moments of low-stakes safety, click the video on your screen right now. I will walk you through the exact low-effort practices to gently stimulate your vagus nerve and tell your primitive brain the threat is truly gone. And if this space feels like the quiet exhale your mind has been desperately searching for, join our community by subscribing. We are building a place where you never have to hustle to heal. Click the video on the screen to take that next gentle step, and I will see you over there